Okay, welcome to our Java course at day 3. So in the previous 2 days, we learned about how to set up Java. We learned about while loops, for loops, if statements. We got very in-depth with Java on day 2. And using that today, we're going to be learning how to make our first game. So any questions were probably addressed in class, but if you still have any questions, you can email us at our email. Okay. So this game requires the user to guess the random number that the program chooses from a range of 0 to 100. And depending on what you put in, the program will tell you to either guess higher or lower, depending on what you put in. And eventually you will be able to guess it, but the goal is to get it in the least amount of tries. So this is a game code. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the project that we were working on. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is ignore what I'm doing right now. Okay, so I already had that coded, but I'll just make it new, just like you guys have it. So you're going to go over this package, com.learn, right click it and go hover over new and then say Java class, name this number guessing. Okay. Now we have our program. Remember, copy the public static void like we always do. Put it under here. And we can get started with our code. Okay. So the first thing we're going to be doing actually before we start coding under this public static void like we usually do is actually import some more packages. So if you learned on the first day, if you remember, we talked about packages classes. We remember how we created packages, right? Or not created, we imported this com.learn package, this surveys package. We also learned that you can create packages and even import them. So this is where we're going to be importing packages that allow us, basically open us to new types of code that help us in our program. So the first package we're going to import is the random package. So I'm going to do import java.utility. Util stands for utility .random. Okay. That's the first one. This package essentially it contains multiple classes that allow you to allow the program to generate like random numbers, random letters, things like that. Next, remember to put a semicolon. And next, I'm going to import the scanner package. Okay. So import java.util.scanner. And this package essentially allows you to take user input. So let's say a user puts in something, it can store that value in a variable, and then it can be used for the future in a program. Okay, so we have our public class, public static void. So we're actually going to be start coding now. The first thing we're going to do is create an object of the random class, which is in the random package. So we're first going to say random, right? This is what we imported. Okay, we'll say random, and then we'll say random object. Okay. Random object. And what this does, we're creating an object inside of this random class. Okay, so random is the class, and we're creating an object inside of that. Okay, and then we're going to set this equal to new random. Okay, so this essentially calibrates this random to work. So we'll be able to use it to create a random number. Next, I'm going to do the similar thing for scanner. Just make sure to put a semicolon. And here, for some reason, it's not letting me go to the next.
You have to change your cursor.
How do you, okay, give me 1 second, guys. Okay, so we had a bit of technical issues, but we got that fixed. So we have our random object, right? So this is the object inside this random class, and this is what we're going to be using to create our random number. We're going to do the same with scanner. We have to calibrate it. So we're going to say scanner object. So this is going to be the object of the scanner class. So scanner object is equal to a new scanner, and inside we're going to do system.in, and this is basically, make sure the S is capital. And this is what allows the user to put in info and scanner will save that. Okay. I'm going to do one more line and then I'll hand it over to you. So under this scanner, right? Here, we're gonna basically what we're gonna do is create our random number. Okay, this is how we're gonna do that. We're gonna first have our integer. Remember, this is a data type and it stores numbers.
Or not, if
So
you
our
forgot the
integer-
semicolon.
What happened?
You forgot the semicolon after defining scanner object. Yeah.
Sorry. So we need our semicolon here. So we have our integer, random number. This is going to be our variable. This is where the random number gets stored, right? And we're going to set this random number equal to random object dot next int, and inside you're going to put 100. Okay. So what we're essentially doing here is taking this random object. Remember, we created this. This is the object of the random class, and we're using this object to essentially define and store a random number between 1 and 100, 0 and 100 in this random number variable. So we'll be using this throughout the rest of our program. I'll finish the try count and then I'll hand over the while loop to Balch. Okay, I'm gonna press enter 2 times, and we're actually, remember how we need to set a try count, right? So we need the amount of tries per game so that we can display that at the end. So we'll say the integer try count. We'll set this equal to 0 because at the beginning we need it to be 0 every time. I'll put a semicolon here. At the beginning of the program, we need the try count to be 0. Now I'll hand it over to Devon.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Disabled participant screen sharing.
Sorry, I'll put. Okay.
Okay. All right, so this is where Arnav left us off. Okay, so we'll get started. Now we are going to be using a while loop. So while true, and we're going to use a code block over here. So whatever's in this code block is designated to this while loop over here. So what do we want our program to say first? So when we run the program, first thing we want it to say is enter a number, guess, between 0 and 100. So this is basically just going to tell the user enter a number guess between 0 and 100. And the reason why I did 0 and 100 is because we set up a range that's going to pick a random number, as Arnav coded before, of 0 to 100 right here, bound 100. And bound is supposed to appear. So yeah. Okay, next up, we're going to make a new variable, and we're going to be using int, which is one of the data types, and this variable is going to be called player guess. And we're going to set this equal to scanner object over here, as we classified up top, scanner object dot next int. So this is basically going to allow the user to input the number that they want to guess inside the system. So this is what this line of code does. Next up, when the user inputs a number into the system, we want the try count to add 1. So we're going to say try count plus and the semicolon. So we're going to plus is just a fancy way in Java to say add 1, just 1. So we're going to add 1 to our try count when the user inputs a number into the system. Okay, so next we're going to set up different scenarios, like if the player guess is more or less than the random number, then what do we want the computer to return? So I'll just do this one bit and then I'll hand it off to Sid. So let's say if the player guess, so whatever the player is guessing is equal to random number. If the player guess is equal to the random number, then we're going to have a code block to say that whatever's in this code block is designated to this. So whatever we want to say, if it's equal to the random number, that basically means that they win. So we're going to say you win. And we also want to write one more thing, which is how many tries it took the player to guess the random number. So we're going to say it took you plus try count. Try count is always changing because it adds one each time. We're going to say tries. And now I will hand it off to Sid to do the other two scenarios.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so I think you guys can see it now, right? So now Devon shows us up to this part where we're given the scenario. If the player or us, if we guess the random number, then it'll tell us we win, and it also tells us how many tries it took. So now that we've done that, we have to break the function. So the way we do that, we're just gonna write down break and put a semicolon. And now we've done that, we're gonna create another scenario. And the first thing we want to do is we want to get out of this code block that's been created. And some of you may already know, but a code block is a certain designated area for that part of the codes or for this, it's the if statement. And the way you can check right here is by going on the semicolon, and you can check the highlights are over here. And then you can click shift and enter. And now we're going to be doing a different scenario where if you did not win, or to give you a hint on how to guess further. So we're going to do else if random number is greater than player guess. Yes. Then we are going to add a curly bracket and press enter. We're going to say system.println, or you can write SOUT and press tab. Guess higher. Try again. So this is one scenario. If our guess is too low, it's going to tell us to guess high. And we're going to do one more scenario, assuming that we guess too high, so we have to guess lower. So kind of in the same way, we're going to first of all get out of the code block, and we're going to say else, put a curly bracket. So since we've got those two scenarios out, we don't have to say else if, then put the scenario. We just have to write else system.println south guess lower try again. So now this program is complete. You can run it by right clicking the number guessing game or whatever you've set it to and click run. And as it starts building, you can see on the bottom right. We can start testing it out, and you can see if your code works. If there's any problems, you can email us or tell us out loud. So it asks us a number from 0 to 100. So I'll just do a quick demonstration, and I'll hand it over to Barnov. So it's saying to guess higher when I guess 50. So it's gonna keep giving me hints until I reach the correct number. So it tells me that I won, and it took me 7 tries. So that's going to be it for the number guessing game. I'll give it off to Arnav so he can wrap it up.
Okay. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So we would have played a game in class, this is just a recording. But that's going to be the end of our 3-day course. Hope you learned something new. Hope you enjoyed this course. If you have any questions still, we will still be able to answer them. Remember, we are Worthy Works. You can follow us on social media, but hope you enjoyed this class. You can make sure to rate us if you enjoyed this class. But that's going to be pretty much it. Bye, everyone.
Bye.